Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. And for today's book review, we are reviewing the fourth book in the Boston Blues series by Mollie Goins. This is Catching Mine. Now, I enjoyed this book so much. I gave it 5 stars. I gave 2 books 5 stars this past week, and that is not something that I typically do. I've lately been giving out a lot of 4.5 stars, because anytime I read a book and I debating whether I give it 4.5 or 5 stars, I compare it to a previous book that I know I gave 5 stars. I was do I like it as much? Was it as enjoyable? This one, I ate it up. I could not put it down. It was so good. Now some of the tropes in this book are accidental pregnancy, marriage of convenience, and the entire Boston Blues series is free from the third act breakup. So if you do not like the third act breakup, then you will enjoy the Boston Blues series. This is also a professional baseball romance, and you have the found family, which you typically get in any sports romance book. And if you know me, you know I really enjoy a found family. There's something so enjoyable about that. So this basically follows Adam Ryers and Mia Wright. So Adam Ryers is actually the older brother of Callie Ryers, who is the female main character from the first book in the series. And basically he moved with his teammate and his sister to Boston when he was traded from Seattle to the Boston Blues. And he's been there by the point of the story. I think they've been there a couple years at this point when the story starts. So basically, she kind of has noticed Adam Ryers every time that he comes into her bar that she runs. Actually, in this book, she becomes the owner of the bar because her grandfather owned it, and then her father owned it, and then she ran the bar for a year, proved to her parents, proved to her parents that she could do it, and then her father then was okay, now you can actually be the owner of the bar. So towards the beginning of the book, she becomes the owner. And she's kind of always noticed him, but he kind of always gave a grumpy, sort of standoffish, sort of kind of vibe with his scowls and things in his facial expressions. So she just never flirted with him. She actually flirted with another one of his teammates, which we actually have the book for. It's the book before this one. Basically, but how you get the whole forced proximity, because there is forced proximity in this, obviously, is that he basically is planning his sister's surprise engagement party, and it's going to happen at her bar. So he is planning it with her because he's basically going to rent out the entire bar. And then after one of their meetings in her office where they're doing planning, he just he's just taken by her, and he's would you go on a date with me? And then it's either that night at 7:00 or the following night that he picks her up and takes her out for a date, and they just go to a bowling alley with an arcade, nowhere fancy, and just get some cheap greasy pizza. And she is sort of this is the best date I've ever had. And then they just start dating, casually dating and stuff like that. And then they start hook up, and then she ends up being really sick, sort of right around his sister's engagement party. And then actually at his sister's engagement party, she again is really sick and actually passes out. So he takes her to the hospital, and then the doctor's we ran some tests, we ran your blood, you're pregnant. She's no, I'm not, that's not possible. She was run the test again, and he ran the test again. They're yep, you're pregnant. And then obviously they have a little freak out, but then he handles it really well, and he kind of gets excited about being a father. And then where the marriage of convenience comes into it is because she starts thinking about her plan. She's I've had my life planned out, and this is not how it's supposed to go. I wasn't supposed to have a child now. I was supposed to, date, get married, and then run the bar for a while and have a child. And she as she started being with him, she's I know I see you in my future, but we just kind of did this backwards now, having the baby now. But she something that was part of her plan when she was going to raise her kids. She wants to raise them in her late grandfather's house that she's supposed to inherit or something. So she tells her father that hey, I want to move into the house now because I'm gonna have a child and stuff. And her father's the clause that your grandfather put in his will is that you have to be married to inherit the house. This is supposed to be a wedding gift. So then Adam knows how much he wants to live in that house and raise the kids in that house, and he's I will marry you. He's I will marry you so we can raise our child in this house. And then they get married, and he's just so happy. And then obviously she moved into the house. She has her baby shower, and then his parents show up to the baby shower. And by the way, he does not at all talk to his parents because they are his father specifically was physically and verbally abusive to him, and then verbally abusive to his sister. And so he just has completely cut off his parents, and then they show up, and then he like obviously kicks them out, and he's like so annoyed that like their special day, the baby shower, was ruined by his parents. But at the baby shower, he actually, like, when he goes upstairs because he needed some moment alone, and then she also comes upstairs because at one point somebody that was his coach in like high school comes up and is like helping him work through that whole thing of his parents showing up. And then he's like, do you want me to get your wife? And he was like, oh, I know my wife. She's going to be at the top of the stairs waiting for me. And there she was. And then he brings her to the nursery, and then he like properly proposes to her and everything. So that was kind of interesting and enjoyable too. But then there's something in the third act that happens that I don't want to spoil it, but basically his father tries to blackmail her, and it turns out somebody that's been kind of like a very minor character throughout this book. It's a guy who ends up being a regular at her bar, ends up being somebody really, really significant, and he's like, I've actually always wanted to do this. Your grandfather had such an interest in the Boston Blues, like that was such an important team to him, and he's like, I am the owner of the Boston Blues. And maybe he sells her the Boston Blues because his father blackmails her and is like, well, I know, he's like, you're going to work with me because I know that the owner of the Boston Blues wants to sell it, and he's not going to like refuse my offer, and you are going to work with me, come work for me, and if you don't work for me, then when I buy the Boston Blues, I'm just going to trade everybody, and you know, people that are working for the team are no longer going to work for the team. It's going to like separate a bunch of people. You know, Callie, which is his sister, no longer going to be the team photographer. And she's like, oh my goodness. And then his father blackmails her at her bar. And then there is her regular, I think it's Harry. And then Harry talks to her and he's like, so, basically, like, I'm the owner of the Boston Blues, and yeah, I'm never gonna sell to him, but I'll sell to you. And then we kind of knew she was rich because it is sort of mentioned in the book, but I didn't realize how rich she was. And then she just casually buys his baseball team, and I'm like, oh, you're rich girl. But that was just such a fun twist. This book was literally so enjoyable. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. I literally could not put it down. So if you have been hesitant on picking up the Boston Blues series, I suggest you do. I enjoyed every book. I would say the first book was probably my least favorite, but I've enjoyed every other book so fantastic. I think I gave like no book less than like 4 stars. They're all between 4 to like 5-star books. They're all fantastic, and they're also all independently published. And if you know me, you know I love supporting indie authors. So another fantastic indie book. So that is all for this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another brand new video from me. You can also follow me at RomanceBLVD on Instagram and Threads, and at Romance Boulevard on TikTok. Until the next one, bye.